So why did we make this film? Both of us were in Tokyo when the earthquake on March 11 hit. And due to the insecure situation at the Fukushima nuclear power plant at that time, we decided to leave Japan and go back to Germany. I'm studying Japanese studies, and I've been interested in Japanese protest culture for several years. So when we heard about the first anti-nuclear demonstrations, we instantly knew that something important was going on. Japan hasn't seen big protests for 2 or 3 decades, and now people started gathering on the streets on a daily basis. On April 10, more than 15,000 people gathered in the town of Koenji in Tokyo, voicing their anger. Not even the people who organized the event expected such a huge amount of people to come. So that was the moment when we decided to go back to Japan, take a camera, and tell the story of this new movement that was about to change Japanese society.
We met a lot of really interesting and inspiring people who talked openly about the development of this new movement. We also learned that it's not taken for granted in Japan to discuss social and political alternatives and ways of living openly in public, as we would know it from our backgrounds in Germany. And that made us gain huge respect for our protagonists and other activists in Japan. They made us feel that we were witnessing the prelude of a big social change in Japan, and that gave us a lot of energy for the making of this film. We also got in touch with the people who are not yet ready to talk about things openly. For example, when we were filming the interview with philosopher Yoshihiko Ikegami and political scientist Shigaya Kinoshita, we were thrown out of a cafe due to the political content of our talks. On the other hand, we could also understand why a lot of people still hesitate to take part in demonstrations. At the demonstrations, police force act really harsh, especially compared to the peacefulness of the demonstrators. So we got to see what the activists had to cope with every day.
We captured the beginning of the Japanese anti-nuclear movement and are now continuing to observe the events from Germany. It makes us happy to see that despite of a few obstacles, more and more people keep joining the demonstrations, raising their voices and express their political opinions. We are trying to further contribute to those positive developments by spreading the voices of the Japanese activists and distributing our film Radioactivist. We want as many people as possible to see the film, and we get a lot of positive reactions. A lot of people who see the film tell us that they are happy to hear what is going on in Japan, because very few people have heard so far about this way of dealing with the events of Fukushima.
As you may know, shortly after the Fukushima incident, the German government decided to stop all nuclear power plants permanently by 2020. Also, in a German state that had always been ruled by a strict conservative party, the Green Party won the election shortly after Fukushima. Of course, for those events, Fukushima was the trigger, but also keep in mind that the struggle of German environmentalists had been going on for more than 30 years.
Since 3/11, local anti-nuclear groups in Japan are connecting and starting to form a strong movement that we feel is capable of changing Japanese society. In Germany, it took us more than 30 years to achieve a nuclear phase-out. But the efforts of the Japanese activists are truly inspiring. When we show the movie to German activists here, they are, despite of their experiences, positively surprised, and they feel truly inspired by the Japanese activists' vigorous commitment. So if they manage to keep that pace, it won't take Japan 30 years to achieve a phase-out like it did in Germany. So we say, ganbatte kudasai.
We have some information of the documentary here, the flyers for the Radioactivist. If you would like to have a copy or like to see it. So I would introduce the next panelist. He's Kei Jino. Kei is an adjunct lecturer at the Borough of Manhattan Community College, BMCC CUNY. He has been involved in labor movement and learned political sciences in Japan since the 1990s. After he came to New York, his research focus at CUNY's PhD program has been on working class history. Thank you, Kei.
Okay. The theme of this session is about the people's movement after this March 11th. But my topic is about who we are fighting with. So about the people who have control their politics and economy, industry of their nuclear power. So let me start first on that point that the March 11 is the man-made disaster. The government, nuclear industry, the academia, backed by the industry, their corporate media, all these power elite in Japan argue that soon after the March 11 that this is a natural disaster, it's not avoidable, it's because of the unexpected disaster. But both of the two disasters, I mean the Eastern Japan Great Earthquake disaster and Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster, are man-made disaster. Especially the nuclear disaster is inevitable failure of the nuclear regime in Japan and in the world. First, we know that Japan is an island of earthquake and tsunami. We have a lot of historical record. Just between the 1994 and 2003, there are 960 earthquakes of over the magnitude 6 in the world. Among them, 1/4 of the major earthquake happened in Japan, and there were 20 gigantic earthquakes in Japan over the magnitude 7 since the beginning of 20th century, and especially the Sandeku coastal area was struck by the historically struck by the major gigantic tsunami, like in Meiji Sandeku earthquake of the end of 19th century, which was caused by the magnitude 8.5 earthquake. Was that this area was struck by the tsunami up to the 125 feet. Very huge tsunami. And also in Showa period, this same area was struck by the tsunami of nearly 100 feet. So it's 30 meter. And the same area was struck by the tsunami of over 10 meter. So compared with the historical record, this time the tsunami was smaller than the earlier one. So we know that Sandeku area is dangerous for the tsunami after the earthquake. And all the nuclear power plant in Japan was constructed near the earthquake active fault and on the coastal area. So this is the design flow, obviously. And secondly, we had, of course, we had a historical lesson from the a lot of nuclear disaster since the 1950s in the Soviet Union, in England, and even in this country, we have at least 3 major disasters, including the accident in the military facility. So we know that there are human error factor other than the natural disaster. And also these people, when I say they, that means the government, nuclear industry, and the academia and the corporate media, that they have suppressed, historically suppressed the opposition warning from their scientists, and created the myth that, as you may probably know, that the myth that nuclear energy is safe, clean, and affordable. And by covering up so many information about accidents, including the clinical record in the Chernobyl, or by falsifying the data in order to make up their safety, so-called safety